to that. So, and whenever then people give their bare minimum, then the employer or the organization loses, because then we are not optimizing the potential within the employees. Now, what is it that is linking these attitudes? Because more and more, the observations is that we're actually observing a lot of this within the workplace. What is this that is linking a lot of these attitudes that is coming up? Interesting, because it is actually the belief that life should not revolve around your job. You know, that you really need to have a work-life balance. So employees or staff are not willing to go the extra mile because they just want to give the very basic minimum, and then they can now go and do other things, you know, go and do their own stuff. So if we all reflect on this, I don't know whether individually we are in that state of quiet quitting, or even within our workplaces. Have you observed characteristics of this quiet quitting, where staff either give their bare minimum, they just want to avoid being fired, so they stick on the job, but at the same time they're not giving their best? So let's reflect on this as we go along, and then we can share. I would like to share the manifestations of quiet quitting, and maybe just to run through 5 of them. So we have the prevalence, disengagement, withdrawal, psychological absence, and slack. So in terms of prevalence, from a survey, over 50% of the US workforce are affected. And we'll be looking at how it affects us at home, you know, in Kenya. What is the situation like? And I'll be looking at that later. And the effect of that is that it has actually brought down the productivity, the worker productivity, to an all-time low of, you know, in 74 years. So this is big, because it really affects the productivity. It really affects the you know, the value that employees are bringing on board, and it definitely then will affect the bottom line. At the moment, we really don't have a lot of data for Africa or from Kenya in terms of the impact, but it is huge. The cost to companies is over $150 billion US per year. That is for the US. So it's big, and I think it's something that we need to start engaging in and preparing our organizations going forward. The other thing is the disengagement that I've talked about, that employees manifest this through persistent disengagement from work. The other thing is withdrawal. You know, you from voluntary group activities, tasks, and conversations. So whenever there are serious or projects, there are serious discussions that are taking place, you actually observe withdrawal in terms of the engagement, or even the willingness to engage in those conversations. The psychological absence. People attend meetings and then they are not, you know, in the meetings. You know, you'll find that they are not immersed in the meeting, but they seem to be elsewhere psychologically, and that's a big thing. And also slack, work more slowly with less effort and with the aim of only covering what is required. So these are some of the manifestations. And again, I would like to throw this back to you in terms of reflecting on what is happening in your place of work. Have you noticed these manifestations coming through? What can you do about them? Now, I would also like to share some bit of controversy in the corporate world and how the employees view it. Because on the one hand, some people associate quiet quitting to laziness, and this is particularly from the employer side or the leadership. They associate this to laziness, to entitlement, and passive aggression towards the employers. So this seems to be the mindset from the employers, that we just have employees who are lazy, who feel entitled, and are passively aggressive towards the employers, and that is manifested through the behaviors. But on the other hand, we have kind of the mindset of the employees, that they do this because they are battling burnout, that they do this to draw boundaries between their jobs and identities. So they really want, if you are in the job, then you just do the job. Once out, you can now go and do your own stuff. And also, they feel like it is an attempt to reject hustle culture. So this is interesting because then it's a bit of a controversy. It's a bit of a clash in terms of the understanding and the mindset. And hence, even as we address this particular topic, then we may really need to understand that the various perspectives, so that as we develop interventions, then we are clear in terms of then how can we have effective interventions. Now, I don't know, is it Alfonso? If you can kindly mute. I think there's a participant, if you can mute. So is this a new phenomenon, the quiet quitting? The answer is no. We've actually had cases of employee disengagement from time immemorial. But I think this the issue of quiet quitting has actually really picked up lately, and you could associate the trend to really the pandemic, the recent COVID pandemic, because it seems to have actually set a trend that has really raised it high. So the pandemic has profoundly reshaped the world of work in a big way. So experts say the pandemic led many of us to rethink our priorities. So all of a sudden, when we were all thrown into the unknown, you know, jobs really had to be redefined. The workplaces had to be redefined all of a sudden, and it really made us as employees or even as employers to rethink the priorities, because then all of a sudden we have the remote working, we had the the agility in terms of the workplace. So all this has actually brought in a completely new a platform in how work is done. This has also prompted an increase in job dissatisfaction. So the pandemic has brought in, that sense of dissatisfaction. Initially there was a way we were so tuned to how we were supposed to work, but all of a sudden then this has completely changed. So there are those who feel dissatisfied when they work from home. There are those who feel kind of dissatisfied working from the office and that kind of thing. So those are the dynamics that are starting to play out. From a recent survey, only 21% of workers worldwide say they are engaged at work, and I think that's a big issue really to think, even from as HR professionals, as business leaders. If you have 21% of your workers fully engaged, I think there is a whole reason to worry, because then what happens to the 79%? You are paying them, but they're just giving maybe their basic minimum. Now, the next number is that 33% say they are just thriving. They are just there. 44% say they were stressed at work the previous day. They were stressed at work the previous day. So that points out to burnout. People wake up in the morning and they're not looking forward to going to work, to going to that work environment. And I think that's a big thing, because then we need to understand what is underlying. How can we make our workplaces better and attractive for staff to come to? Because these statistics is really a big concern. So if people feel stressed and burned out, it means then it also can lead to increase in terms of risk of diseases such as diabetes, heart conditions, as well as mental health, which is a big thing, because then it leads to depression, it leads to insomnia, and all that kind of concerns. So it really forces then staff to really be looking out to how can they try to get solutions to some of these challenges that they are having. And hence, they then think about opportunities to really hustle outside the workplace while maintaining the work or the job during the day. Let's quickly look at the prevalence. Does it necessarily affect the young generation? Does it cut across? So I've tried to look through some of the data that is there, and 41% of workers globally are considering quitting their jobs. So it's an interesting number. That 41%. Well, like I said, we'll actually be looking at the situation in Kenya shortly, but 41% is really huge, because if workers are in the workplace and they're just sitting and they just considering quitting their jobs, but they've not quit yet, then it's a big concern. Now, 54% are among the Generation Z population, and those are the ones born after 1997. So you can see the prevalence generally cuts across, but is mainly concentrated around that population of the Generation Z. And hence, even as we think through this topic and as we try and unpack, we also need to then see, even in our workplaces and in the population that we have, how can we address some of the concerns that this particular group have, so that we can actually have them engaged. The other one is that 60% of these Gen Z population are surviving or struggling at work. They really don't connect, they don't immerse themselves in the work, compared to 54% of all workers who generally struggle, who generally are just surviving at the workplace. And the other thing is that while remote and flexible working can offer new possibilities, it is also causing widespread digital exhaustion, especially for the young workers. So again, it's a double-edged sword. While the pandemic has kind of brought in a new dynamic, it's also bringing in this issue of digital exhaustion, where the population are starting to get fatigued in a sense. So let's now look at the situation here in Kenya. There was a survey and a report that was conducted by FIFA Consult sometimes in 2020, which kind of painted a picture of how the state of the side hustles in Kenya, which is actually a manifestation of the quiet quitting in a sense. So I was just hoping this will kind of give us a picture of the state in Kenya. So interesting, 33% of Kenyans earning more in side hustles are ready to quit their day jobs, but they've not. So this is from the report. They actually this organization ran this survey and found out that 33% of Kenyans who are working and are in side hustles are ready to quit their jobs. So not so far from actually the global picture, but it's a big concern. And these 33%, like I said, sitting in our offices, in our workplaces, but they're not giving their best. They're just giving their bare minimum, and their focus is elsewhere. What's the driving forces to this? What is the driving forces to this? 80% of them say they are driven by the desire to supplement their salaries due to the inability of their current salary to meet basic needs. So I guess with the high unemployment rate, it's a big struggle. So most organizations or most employers would actually give that basic wage where employees are actually struggling really to really meet their daily needs. and then they are forced to supplement the salaries. Now, the other one is that they are drawing up retirement plans. So people are starting to think about retirement. You know, how am I going to sustain my lifestyle? How am I going to sustain my family? So they are thinking of taking action now, looking out for opportunities for side hustles, and really putting together that retirement plan. The other one is interesting, boredom at work. Employees are bored at work, and that points to, you know, the connection between what they are doing and the passion, and what really motivates them. So maybe a number of employees are actually taking up those jobs because they have no option. So what this leads to is eventually being bored at work and just giving their basic minimum. The other one is also investment plans, which is similar to actually what we're talking about, the retirement plans. And then the other one is the desire to realize and meet needs by the current employer. So if you don't connect with the aspirations of the employee, you know, as an employer, then you are going to have that mismatch, and eventually it leads to the employee to start thinking about you know, these opportunities as a side hustle. What are the sectors? You know, from the reports, they are saying the sectors that are leading in terms of side hustle is agriculture. Actually, the bulk of it is agriculture, but then we have quite a chunk of people going into media and entertainment, retail, transport, IT, manufacturing, construction and real estate, financial services, business services, and hospitality. So people are really getting opportunities to jump in there, to you know, get into the side hustles and at least make an extra coin out of that. How does it affect the population or the gender? Interesting. 78% of them are men, you know, who've really gone into side hustle, and 22 are women. So you can see it's something of concern, and we need to start thinking about the interventions. The interesting thing is that the side hustle is really starting to become so fashionable. It's starting to become so, you know, the in thing. If you are employed, you're expected to actually have a side hustle. So this thing is here to stay. Because it's really becoming so fashionable as it were. So as employers, as HR community, we really need to think how then we can structure our attraction policies, our retention policies, to be able to really take into consideration some of these new developments. In terms of quiet quitting and culture, quiet quitting is not harmful to culture, but instead is a result of the culture. It's an interesting finding, actually. How culture can actually create quiet quitting in a sense, you know, within the work environment. And then how then as leaders, as HR, as business leaders, how can we create the right environment that will drive, you know, retention within the workforce? Employees working with managers and leaders who support their teams, lead with values, and respect their employees and their boundaries will not have employees who feel they need to quit their jobs quietly. So this is profound, because if we don't develop the leadership capabilities within our organizations, then we will continue to drive away employees and fail to connect to them. And the result of that is that we'll continue as leaders to always blame the employees, to say, you know, they are lazy, like what we had said before, you know, they have this right of entitlement and all that. Likewise, leaders who can effectively balance results with taking care of their employees will likely not see quiet quitting in the workplace. So again, it doesn't mean that we need, leaders have to go soft on the employees, but really striking that fine balance between the results, the expected results, and also taking care of the employees. It's really such a fine balance that we need to look out for, so that we continue to retain the employees. Now, that brings me then to the next slide, where we, this phenomenon is being blamed on bosses, bad bosses, rather than bad employees. So, there was a research that was conducted, and it gave very interesting results. So, of the employees who reported their managers were ineffective or balancing getting results with concern for others' needs, 14% of them were quietly quitting, and 20% of them were willing to give extra effort. So, as you can see from the chart, particularly at the bottom, if the manager rating is actually low, it's affecting big time the retention of the employees, or this issue of quiet quitting. So if the manager is struggling, or the leader is struggling, or is being ineffective at balancing results and taking care of the employees, only 14%. 14% are actually quiet quitters. They're just seated there, and then 20% are willing to give extra effort. But on the other hand, if we have managers who are rated high, in terms of balancing their results with concern for the employees' needs, then you will actually drive down that percentage of quiet quitters to 3%, and increase the percentage of those willing to give the extra effort to 62%. So you can imagine the impact of leadership. You can imagine the impact on the working environment within the organization, on productivity and retention of the employees. So this is big. So really, as we think about this, and as we think about interventions, I think we really need to focus then on building the right climate within the organizations, so that we can retain more of these employees. Is it that bad? Is it a bad thing to quiet quitting? Interesting, because the same study by FIFA Consults shows that 56% of the respondents who participated in that survey had indicated that recording no improvement at their daytime job, while satisfaction of extra revenue had a positive impact of 44% of the respondents on their daytime job. So if employees are successful in their side hustle, it actually triggers back to their daytime job. So you can see 44% of them feel positive while doing their job. So in a sense, if they are successful in their side hustles, that effect, it has a positive effect in how they carry themselves and actually apply themselves at the workplace. And then two, is that it may also be good for employers by reducing burnout among staff. So it gives an opportunity for staff, to really reduce on burnout. Because again, if burnout continues to build up at the workplace, then eventually, a lot of things will give in. So somehow, it's playing some balancing effect also from an employer perspective. So that brings me then to what next? How can we deal with this issue? There are a number of actions actually that employers can employ. One is that we need to establish the actual employees manifesting quiet quitting behavior. And we've talked about the manifestations of quiet quitting. So even as HR community, as leaders, as managers, as supervisors, we need to really observe. And if we notice that they seem to be a disconnect, there seem to be a drop in terms of engagement levels for particular employees or group of employees, then we actually need to pick that up. The other one is identify the cause of the quiet quitting, leveraging on existing management tools. We have tools. That can help us. We have the engagement surveys that we can do to just help us understand the level of connection between employees with the organization. So we need to really understand what is underlying, what is causing this quiet quitting within the workplace. The other one is establish the extent to which the quiet quitting is happening, and whether it may border on breach of contract and impact as well. So at some point, employers may actually be forced to terminate staff who've really manifested quiet quitting to a level where they are unable to deliver on their roles. So again, we really need to be able to work and look out for that. Prioritize interventions at the point where the impact on the bottom line is greatest. So if it is affecting the bottom line, the productivity, and it's starting to trigger down to the productivity level, I think it should really raise a lot of concern to all of us, and hence we need to prioritize the interventions, particularly on those employees or those that are impacting the productivity big time. Finally, structure your intervention in such a way that prevention and treatment are institutionalized. So again, it shouldn't just be something that we are just picking on particular staff or a particular group, but if we can build within the institutional systems, that will really help. Because like I talked about the impact on the management styles. If we can build the capabilities where managers create the right environments within the institutions, that will really go a long way doing that. So, and as we look at that, as we look at these interventions, I want to bring in something around the framework on employee experience. What is it that employees looking out for as they choose your organization? What is it that they are looking for to remain in your organization? And there is a 6A framework that somebody shared, and I thought I can just share with us today. One is the attractiveness, organizational or brand attractiveness. How have we placed our brands as employers? What is it that really attracts those employees and that will make them tick or choose the organization? The other one is authenticity, level of trust, openness, transparency, and comfort between employer and employee. Have we created that right environment, to be authentic, to be able to engage, to be able to be trusted, to be able to be transparent in how we carry out the various processes and work? Accessibility to the the ease of system, tools, processes, or have we built in bureaucracies within our system so that it makes employees really feel uncomfortable, even in terms of decision making and actions that we make. The other one is adaptability. How agile have we? Have we built the organizations, the resilience, and the flexibility with employees in light of dynamic environments? Are our policies so rigid, to be able to address some of the concerns that are coming up? Alignment, practice what you preach from the beginning through to the end. So what kind of experience are new staff, as they report to your organization, get? Do they get a sense of, the policies are saying one thing, but what is being practiced here is different? So we really need to have that alignment well, and hence it also speaks to the authenticity that we've talked about. Aspirational, show the employees that they have a future with you and you with them. So we actually need to make sure that as the organization grows, or as we give employees targets or goals from an organization perspective, are we also building their career aspirations as well, so that they grow together in tandem? Because if we do that, then we'll also always have a connection. They see the what is in it for me, within that organization. So some of the things that we can do in terms of responding to quiet quitting is then one is that we need to communicate clearly. Because unclear communication from leadership undoubtedly causes employee engagement issues and burnout. So we always need to be very clear in terms of our communication, our expectation, and setting the right tone to the employees. By also creating a safe place for employees to share, you will be able to be better informed about the employees' welfare. So again, communication will be two-way. Whenever there are any issues, any feedback, then you can be able to have it captured. Encourage downtime. This is quite important because, like we said, burnout is a big thing. And if we don't encourage employees to be able to really have the time to recharge, to do their stuff outside of their job, then it will start getting back to the workplace. So as a leader, you are responsible for encouraging people to unplug from work. Encourage them to really go out and have their time. Remind employees that we are all human. So again, when we ignore employees' needs, we put their productivity and performance at a higher risk. So we really need to be able to empathize and be in their places in terms of some of the challenges that they are facing, and hence we need to build in terms of the employee welfare programs. We really need to take into consideration some of those things. Also, giving employees grace and time to rest and recover is essential. As part of the performance. The other one is ensure workloads are manageable. So as we give employees goals, targets, you really need to make sure that we balance both the expectations and also the kind of workloads that we give them, the time that we've allowed them to do that, so that they need to be reasonable. And also create the space for employees to be able to apply themselves with autonomy, with flexibility, but understanding the kind of metrics or the expectations that they need to deliver. Number 5 is also developing trust, and this has continued to play out. I think trust is something so key in this space of quiet quitting. So it's the best way to decrease stress, increase loyalty, and also engage employees, because employees will always be looking up to you. They trust you, and they can always come up to you whenever they feel stressed at any point. Lastly, is develop your ability to lead. So at this points out to the leadership. So as we develop the leadership programs, we really need to be intentional in how we structure that. So leadership development is a process that requires constant practice, education, and reflection, so that the leader should always look back and are they creating the right environments? Are they creating the right teams and capability are cognizant of the dynamics that can play out. So please look out for that. Put the leadership teams into various programs that can help them to reflect, to understand, the expectations as it were. So the result of the employee experience, like I said earlier, what is it that the employees are looking for? So if that is met, or if we put in structures or models that can really be attractive to the employees, will actually retain them, will actually have them give their best within the organization, then it really gives very positive results in all areas, psychological, emotional, physical, technological, and socio-cultural. You'll really have a holistic kind of experience, which is so positive for the employees as they immerse themselves. So what is the impact of managing quiet quitting? It is always a win. It is always a win because the productivity increases, the shareholder value increases, and the profit will also increase. So research shows that increased employee experience leads to increased productivity, shareholder values improves with increased profitability, and finally, productive employees improve the profitability of the organization, and all of us will win. So I think it's something that we need to look at and just make sure that we work on it, because it's positive at the end if we do that. So as I conclude, we shouldn't panic. I think it's something that we can manage, because quiet quitting is detectable. We can detect. You can always tell. We've talked about how it manifests itself, and hence we can prevent. It's preventable. Once we've understood, then we can put in place measures and interventions to be able to address them. It can be treated or managed, by developing those interventions, and that tools exist to deal with it. We have the tools that are already in place. As HR professionals, you are aware that you can test the engagement levels within the organization or within the teams. So I believe we have an opportunity to address, and we can always manage going forward. So yes, that brings me to the end of my presentation. I think we can now get into Q&A and plenary. Have any feedback, any observations, any questions, then we can take it up from there. So let me bring it back to Daktari.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ben. I hope Madam Dr. Helen is somewhere following, but we appreciate. I think if we were in a physical meeting, we would have been clapping for you. Thank you so much. I think it's been very insightful, and I would like to allow members to the listeners to participate in terms of giving any feedback, any questions, or any contribution into this. I've also requested that because of the numbers, you can quickly post your question or comment on the chat box. And I hope, Ben, you can see the chat box. Yeah, so anyone who is ready, you can go. Or just raise up your hand, or let me know whether you want to say something. Thank you. Yeah, Ben, as we wait for the team to respond, my question, I saw something that you talked of, encourage downtime. When you say you encourage downtime, I know downtime has been something we've been really battling. Some organizations are really battling to improve their, to alleviate the downtime problem. How do we balance this?
Okay, thank you, Eric. I believe you can hear me. So yeah, on that particular downtime, it's really giving the people the opportunity to, or the time to go recharge outside work. So again, it's really balancing the expectations or the performance level. So it reaches a time where you really need to allow your staff maybe to take time off off work And this really calls for us to be intentional. Once we've observed that staff seems to be struggling, they are manifesting cases of burnout. I think it will really be good to just, give them time off to really go and unplug from work and hopefully that opportunity will then help them to then come back fully to work. So I think it's like you say, it's an area that we are struggling, but I think we need to be intentional by observing times when the employee seems to be struggling, and hence we just allow them to go out, or maybe even organizing for team building activities, for example, where you just go off the workplace and have employees interact and engage, in outside work, and hopefully that will also help. I don't know whether that helps. Anybody else can add to that, actually.
Yeah, that is very useful, Ben. Anyone else? Yeah, members.
Can you hear Eric?
Yeah, yes, we can hear you, Daktari.
I've seen a question from Judy Kiprop. He's saying, hello, how do you, I think, deal with employees engaging in quiet quitting because of delay of payment in salaries and the employer is struggling with making revenue? There's a question in the chat box.
Okay.
Yes,
yeah,
I can
yeah,
see.
thank you.
Yeah. Proceed there, Ben.
Thank you, Judy. And I think this is now where the paradox is, because on the one hand, if we continue to have the quiet quitters within the organization, then the organization will continue to struggle, in terms of the revenue generation and their profitability pursuits, which eventually then affects, sustainability of the business. So, like I said, I think we really need to be cognizant of the fact that if we encourage the employees, then all of us will win. Because if you remember I don't know whether I can pull that. Yes. If we can have if we can have productivity increasing through engagement by all employees, then we'll have it. All of us will win. The profitability will then be realized, and that will help in terms of sustaining the business. Because if we continue to drive down productivity, by decreasing the productivity, what it means is that the share value will decrease, and whatever then accrues at the end of the day will not be able to sustain the business, and hence it may actually force the business to make some of the very difficult decisions of cutting down maybe on numbers or some of the business lines. So I guess it really needs them us to go back to the employees and for them to understand how the dynamics will play out. If they don't give their best, then eventually the organization will also suffer. So I think it's an area that we really need to continue looking out for. I don't know, Judy, whether that helps.
Yeah, Judy, you can unmute and say something.
Good. Meanwhile, Dr. Willett, I've seen your comment, and I think it's true, because unless from the leadership perspective, if we don't build this authenticity, the trust, the openness, the transparency, then it will actually fall at that point. Because as leaders, as bosses, we are being blamed. We're actually being blamed for creating this culture or this environment. In fact, from what I had presented, it's actually the result of a culture. Quiet quitting is a result of a culture which may be created from the kind of leadership environment that we create. So we really need to be able to be cognizant and be intentional as leaders so that we create the right environments, the right working environments to attract and retain employees.
Yeah, Judy says she got it. Thank you.
Okay.
And I hope Dr. Willita also. Yep. Anyone else?
My name is Edna. I want to appreciate Ben for taking us through this topic today, quiet quitting. Initially, I thought quiet quitting is just leaving you work slowly, and the following day, while the employer expects you back to your desk, you are not there. But you have put it right, and I was able to understand. I appreciate that this is a global challenge and an emerging issue following the Gen Z and what is happening now. And when you talked through, I just thought that it's a high time the HR managers in the practice quickly turn around and be able to come up with social interventions and engagement sessions so that people are more satisfied in the workplace and are more productive in the workplace. What are some of the motivational ways in which the HR managers can come up with so as to be able to keep the workforce engaged and stop this habit of quiet quitting?
Great, thanks so much, Edna. I'm happy that we've managed to unpack this topic to an extent. So thanks for that. So you've asked the question about the motivational ways of doing this. So one, you've realized that it could be prevalent in certain population within the workforce. So I guess one of the things that I would like to share or recommend is that we really need to understand the needs of the various populations within our organizations. So for example, the Generation Z, for example, how many do we have in our organizations, and how have we developed the various, let's say, the benefit structures within the organization that will make them attractive? Because not all of them are actually the same. For those who are over 40, for example, their immediate concerns may not necessarily be the same as those the young population, between 20 to 30, for example. So I guess we need to really be very intentional in how we put together the various models, the various benefits models, for example, that will just make them attractive and stick to the organization. So look at those things that will actually make them tick, and hence put in place ways of embedding that within the work structure. The other thing is also within the workplace. How can you make the workplace so attractive? Remember, we talked about I think about 40% of employees were not feeling like going back to work, the following day. So what is it within the work environment that we can try and tweak to just make it more pleasant, more attractive to the staff? So so I think those are some of the top of mind things that we can actually try and do to really motivate the various cadres of staff within the workplace. But we can always build on that. We can always build on that from the different setups that we have in our workplaces. Any other comments, question?
Yeah, Ben, I think just to add few remarks on Edna's question, and exactly you've answered. We had a similar forum by the college, the summit that we had in Mombasa last week, and one of the lessons actually that was shared is about how Safaricom manages this issue. And I think, Ben, at some point you may want to share with us how you do it in Tenwek, in how you address this. Number one was about the onboarding process. You know, generally about recruiting, the whole process of recruitment, it has to be top notch, and the onboarding process being the best experience, so that the employees are able to settle down and get more engaged. Number two was about communication. You need to leverage on communication via technology. Collaboration with technology to help you maximize the communication channels that are there. Because you may find that people are getting disengaged even in a meeting. So you need to find ways through technology to engage people. And as the company, as the digital world moves also, it's important to embrace the technologies and have a digital company in place. The other issue actually was to prioritize the employee wellness, the wellness programs, because as you realize, the mental health issues are really encroaching. So mental wellness is a very, very important one. So I think those are the few I thought I could share. Ben, do you have anything to share about in your practice, especially in Tenwek?
No, I think you are spot on, Eric. So I think we need to look at the end-to-end employee life cycle. You know, right from the point when we're recruiting them, so that they have the best experience, all the way to how we manage them once they come on board, through to the point when they have to exit. So that, because remember, these are your best ambassadors. If their experience within the organization is great, then that will really trigger even to the rest of the people that they interact with. So I agree with you. I think you've really pointed out, and those are some of the things that we're also trying to build within our various processes within HR in Tenwek, so that we really have that best employee experience when they come. Thank you.
Yeah, Ben, thank you. What do you think about, you know, encouraging people to have the side hustles? I know you talked about it, and I know in some organizations it is actually restricted. It is seen as a conflict of interest. What do you think about encouraging them to run their side hustles alongside their business, their work?
Thank you. Thank you, Eric. And I think it's an interesting one, because I think if the side hustles is conflicting with the work that you are doing, then therein lies a problem, because it flies on the face of conflict of interest. But and yet again, you know, you've seen from the statistics that this is something that is happening, whether we like it or not, from an organization perspective. So I guess we need to start thinking around, you know, some policy frameworks of sorts to say, then if you have to run your side hustle, then what are the boundaries like? How how are you expected to, to carry yourself between that and also your daytime job? So because a lot of people have managed to balance, they can actually balance. It may not even manifest in terms of their work, because they put in place structures that run by themselves. So I think it's an area that we need to start thinking about and structuring it better. So I expect to see some of these starting to come into our policy framework soon, and just building boundaries in terms of what is expected, what is not, and what will amount to a conflict of interest, for example, and hence what will be the consequences to that. In a way, I mean, you've shared some of the benefits of running a side hustle. If it is successful, then it actually triggers into the workplace in a way. So I guess it's such a fine balance that we need to build, and also it also helps address some of the concerns that the employees are having, because if there are concerns around retirement plans, if they are successful in terms of their side hustles and they can see sustainability of their lifestyles after employment, then it continues to have the connection with at the workplace. So anyway, those are some of the things that we need to start thinking about and just building into the processes that we have at the workplace.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ben. We really appreciate what you have done today, and definitely it is the time actually has been a limitation for us today, but you've been able to deliver within the time that was slotted. So we intend to finish just by the next 3 minutes, by 6:15. I can see a hand from, is that Willita? Yeah, Dr. Welcome.
That's me, Eric.
Karibu.
I think I wish to share my take from this sharing today. After listening to the presentation of our presenter, Ben, I seem to be of the idea that it's good that we build on employee engagement. We need to build on engagement in our workplace. It's also good to look at the interpersonal relationship.
Yeah.
Sorry, something else.
Yeah, proceed.
I'm taking your time. I think
there seems to be
the presentation, I think we need to build on employee engagement. Issues of interpersonal relationships at the workplace are the things that could really enhance people to be comfortable and to be engaged and to be committed at the workplace, so that they don't keep on having that characteristic of quiet quitting. Issues of work-life balance. I think it's a high time that employees actually are encouraged. I'm happy it was touched by our presenter that it's good to allow people to take time off and do their work. The issues of supervisor-employee relationship and the support that the supervisor or the leader should be giving employees is very key, so that the employees don't feel that they are left out. Because if they feel they are left out, they can easily switch off, get frustrated, and have this behavior of quiet quitting. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Ari. I hope this yours was the wrapping up, the last comment to be made. Okay. But then I want to appreciate all the members, all the attendees. I can see people not only from our South Rift branch. I can see people from Nakuru, the Central Rift branch, Joseph Modia and others. We recognize all of you and we appreciate you for tuning in. We'll have many others sessions coming up soon, and we'll be sharing in our WhatsApp platform. Thanks everyone. I don't know, Chair, if you've got any other comment to make.
All right, thank you very much, Eric, for stepping in and also for the great moderation. And also thank you very much, CLA. I hope you can hear me. I had a problem
Yes,
with
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. So I just want to really appreciate the great presentation and the great insights. And I have a feeling that this is a conversation that may not end here. Maybe people may still have many questions or comments. And so I wanted to comment that we could always still carry on this discussion in the forum. You know, people can still post their questions, their reactions, and we can still continue the discussion there. And so I think because of limitation of time, we will maybe just stop it there. But very soon, we'll also be announcing another forum. I noticed at some point, we're actually up to 44 participants. So this is great attendance. So we really want to thank members very much. So thank you, everyone. Maybe we'll just request someone to pray for us. I volunteer to pray for us as we close. Thank you.
Madam Chair, just to mention that in our midst, also in the forum was many other committee members. I know Judy Kinyanjui was in. Ben Shelley himself is our committee member. I don't know if there's Geoffrey, committee member of Kericho, South Rift, and myself as the vice chair. Any other officials from IHRM, we appreciate all of you for tuning in, and they have a great evening.
Thank you. Let me say thank you also for the opportunity to present during this forum. I want to appreciate the number of cheerleaders within this forum. I have my CEO, Mr. Shem Tangus, is joined in, and a number of directors. Thank you so much, and a number of other cheerleaders that really promised to join. So thank you. I really appreciate, and have a good night.
Yeah, so kindly someone to volunteer to pray. We'll have a word of prayer. Is that Mercy? Okay, Luisa, welcome to pray. And Dr. Willie Tarop, do you want to pray?
Thank you for the opportunity to
please.
Members, let's pray. Our dear loving God, we thank you, Lord, for the opportunity that we had to listen to the teaching on quiet quitting. We want to pray, Jehovah, for our branch. We pray for each and every member that we address this issue so that our workplaces are going to be very vibrant and very productive. Bless us, Jehovah, for we pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. God bless. Bye.
Thank you.